GTR.
Hello everyone, I'm Dan Sindel and welcome to Easy GTR online video guitar lessons. This is part 2 of learning how to play Pachelbel's Canon in D major, and as always we've got lots of work to do today. And what we are going to do is we're going to take a look at the easy version of the ebook. We're going to work through sections A to sections B. Then we're going to have a brief discussion of intervals, a little bit of basic theory for you guys. Then we're going to take a look at the complete version of the ebook and work through bars 7 through bars 10, which is a basic study of intervals. Now, if you have not already downloaded the ebook, this is a great time to do that. So please go to www.easygtr.com, sign up for the newsletter real quick, and we'll send you a link to download the ebook. And before we get started, I always have to give credit where credit is due. And I'd like to thank my sponsors, Seymour Duncan Pickups, for helping me out with these P-Rail pickups. If you haven't played these pickups, they're really cool. You can actually get 3 pickup sounds in one pickup. And I also like to thank Willie's Custom Guitar Repair for wiring up the guitar for me.
It's a great idea for us to analyze the score of Pachelbel's Canon in D major before we start playing the song. That way you have a better understanding of the actual composition itself. Now, a canon is when a piece of music is imitated and repeated. And as you can see here, guitar 1 in the red area comes in 2 measures after the bass and the basic chords come into play. Then 2 measures later, at bar 5 in the blue area, guitar 2 comes in playing exactly the same thing as guitar 1, and it will continue that way to the very end of the song. Guitar 3, which is in the green area, will now come in 2 measures later at bar 7, or section B. And as you can tell, guitar 3 is arranged differently than guitars 1 and guitar 2. And this is true until the end of the piece. Guitar 3 has been specifically arranged for intermediate players in mind, but beginning players have no worries. It really isn't all that much harder than guitars 1 or guitars 2, and should offer you a couple extra cool things to learn in the long run.
So let's go ahead and look at the easy version of the score. We're going to look at section A, bar 3. Our first note is an F sharp on the high E string. Then we play an E, then a D, then a C sharp, then a B, then an A, then a B, then a C sharp. Now we come into bar 5, and this is where guitar 2 also enters. And our first note is a D, C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, G, E. Now let's look at section B. We're going to look at bar 7 and bar 8. I'm going to play this just a little slower for you because now we're looking at sequences of eighth notes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, F sharp, A, G, F sharp, D, F sharp, E, D, B, D, A, G, B, A, G. Now you notice I'm calling out the names of the notes as opposed to the numbers on the tab. I am a big advocate of reading notation, and if there's any way where you could just take a little bit of time and learn to read the notes if you're not very familiar with the notes, it will only benefit you in the long run. Now we're going to look at bar 9 and bar 10. The third note, it's an open E, and we're going to use that as a pivot point to move from the 2nd position up to the 9th position. Then we're going to move to the 14th position. So bar 9 will look like this. F sharp, D, open E. Now we shift positions to the 9th position. We play C sharp, D, shift to the 14th position, F sharp, A, and then we play the lower octave of the A. So that phrase will look like this. Now bar 10, we just move up 2 frets and we play the B, B, G, A, F sharp, D, play the higher octave of D, on the E string, and then we play a trill in the groupings of fives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and resolve a half step lower. And if you notice, from 10 to 9, you can slide that note, so it would look like this. Just get that little slide in there from the D to the C sharp. Okay, excellent. Now we've moved from section A to section B.
Before we move on and discuss the third guitar part of the complete version of the canon, which if you had not yet already downloaded, this may be a great time to do that. I would like to discuss some more basic theory with you, as I really think it will help shed some light on the next part of our study. What we're going to do is take a quick look at the basic concept of intervals. And once again, I thought it'd be fun to use the guitar wheel to illustrate the point, so let's zoom in. Intervals are the distance between two notes, measured by the distance of half steps and/or whole steps. Interval names are qualified by the terms major, minor, perfect, diminished, and augmented. Diminished intervals are 1/2 step smaller than minor or perfect intervals. Augmented intervals are 1/2 step larger than major or perfect intervals, and as a quick reminder, a half step equals 1 fret and a whole step equals 2 frets. And we are working in the context of a chromatic scale, which is a scale that consists entirely of half steps. Let's analyze our intervals. A minor second equals 1/2 step. A major second equals 2 half steps, or 1 whole step. A minor third equals 3 half steps, or 1 whole step and 1 half step. A major third equals 4 half steps, or 2 whole steps. A perfect fourth equals 5 half steps, or 2 whole steps and 1 half step. A perfect fifth equals 7 half steps, or 3 whole steps and 1 half step. And a minor sixth equals 8 half steps, or 4 whole steps. Now this might be a good time to pause very quickly and talk about a new term, enharmonic, which means the same pitch that we hear or what our ear may perceive, but spelled differently by name. For example, an A sharp is equivalent to a B flat. And this theory also applies to intervals. By comparing the relationship of notes D to A sharp, we can determine this is an augmented fifth. By knowing a perfect fifth, which is D to A, all we do is raise the fifth interval by 1/2 step, creating an A sharp. And by comparing the notes D to B flat, we do create a minor sixth interval. And we will discuss the major sixth interval in the next slide. So now it's easy to see that the augmented fifth and minor sixth intervals do have an enharmonic relationship. Moving on. A major sixth equals 9 half steps, or 4 whole steps and 1 half step. A minor seventh equals 10 half steps, or 5 whole steps. A major seventh equals 11 half steps, or 5 whole steps and 1 half step. And finally, a perfect 8 or a perfect octave is equivalent to 12 half steps. And as a brief recap, here are the basic intervals, and it may be a good idea to write these down.